Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your patience as we start the Sunshine Coast Regional District regular board meeting of Thursday, June 25th, 2020. We are just starting just after 2 p.m. here in the afternoon. And I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territories of the Sechelt and the Squamish First Nations, and we're very privileged and happy to be here to live, work, and play and govern at the same time. So thank you all for being here today. So we have an agenda in front of us. Did we have an amended agenda today? Yes, we do. Okay. So there is. I just need to. There we go.
Yeah, we added item 4A.
Yeah. So we have item 4A that has been added on. And then I understand from speaking with Director Ties, I believe there is an item of new business that we need to add on as well.
Yes, please. That's the updating the public hearing for July the 14th as to who the chair will be.
Okay. So we're going to add on, we've got 4A added on as the amended agenda, and then new business, July 14th, public hearing. Director McMahon, did I see your hand up as well?
Yeah, I wanted to raise one other item of new business, which is knotweed.
Knotweed. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to look to directors and staff. Are there any other items that you would like added on before we move to adopt and this agenda? Is there anything else to add on? Okay, Director McMahon, I'm assuming you no longer need your hand up, so I'm going to lower it for you. Okay. All right. So, directors, may I have a motion to adopt this amended agenda, please? So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so first up, we have our Annex A, pages 1 through 7 of our package. We have the regular board meeting minutes of June 11th, 2020. May I ask for a motion to receive and adopt those minutes? So moved and seconded. Are there any errors, omissions, changes, additions, subtractions, multiplications, divisions? No math on that one? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Presentations and delegations. We have nothing today. We have reports, so I'm going to ask for a motion to receive all the reports, please. So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. So first up, we have Annex B, pages 8 to 13 on our package. And this is the Planning and Community Development Committee recommendations of June 11th, 2020, except for those already previously adopted. Directors, are there any of those recommendations that you would like to have pulled out to debate separately? Director McMahon?
I don't want to pull one out, but I have business arising. So do we do that after this?
Before we adopt it, would it affect any of the recommendations that have been adopted? Okay, so I'll tell you what, why don't we do that after we do adoption, if that's okay. I saw a nod from the corporate officer, so I'm assuming that's okay. I would like to pull out recommendation number 4, though, just as a separate. Are there any other of those planning and community development recommendations that directors would like to pull out? Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the block with the exception of number 4. Please. So moved, Director Seegers, seconded, Director Lee. Any further discussion on those items? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. And so with the recommendation number 4, which is in, it is the, sorry, I have to just go over to the other agenda page here. So recommendation number 4, which is the Half Moon Bay OCP amendment bylaw number 675.3 and zoning amendment bylaw number 310.174. And this is in regards to the Secret Cove Heights development. I have a little statement that I would like to read in regards to this, because it has been, I'd like to address the comments that are being made on social media to myself personally and in public meetings. I do not take kindly to the threats and character attacks and criticisms that have been leveled at my APC, the applicants, and myself. In taking on this position, I ask myself daily, what do I believe is in the best interest of my community? I believe that proper legislative process is being followed in this project, and sending this application to public hearing allows for a structured forum for feedback from the greater community on this project and does not guarantee the outcome. I take the OCP very seriously. The countless volunteer hours, staff time, and consultation, and the continued work of our Area Planning Commission is invaluable to the future of our community as a whole. Yes, this is a contentious application, but I believe that it needs to be moved forward to public hearing, and I will be moving this recommendation forward and recommending that this recommendation does pass today. So I'm, with recommendation number 4, I'm going to ask for, I will move it forward and ask for a seconder for this motion. Seconded. Is there any further discussion on this? Director Hiltz?
Yeah, it could just help a little bit with the process of pulling it, and the voting. The voting is the whole board. Just if you could review that a little bit, please.
I'll look over to our corporate officer to confirm.
Thank you, Chair. It will be the rural areas only that vote on this recommendation.
Because it has been pulled. Okay, so I moved it as a rural director, and I saw Director Seegers had seconded it, so I'll have to ask for another rural director to second it. Seconded by Director Lee. Okay. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? So we have 3 rural directors in favor. Those opposed? Director McMahon and Director Hiltz, would you like to have your opposition recorded? Yes, please. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. Next up is our Infrastructure Service Committee recommendations, numbers 1 through 4 of June 18th, 2020. Annex C, pages 14 through 16 of our package, number 4 on your agenda. Directors, would you like to pull out any of those? Oh, I'm sorry, Director McMahon, my apologies. We need to go back. You had an item of business that was arising from the PCD committee recommendations. My apologies.
Yeah, on page 12, discussing the public engagement on the Cooper's Green boat ramp.
Oh, certainly.
Could you tell us?
Oh, certainly I could. And it was actually going to be part of my director's report as well. So I've met with staff regarding the Cooper's Green boat launch consultation. So Dean, Ian, and I had a good conversation, and we've got a path going forward. We are going to have a public consultation, or we're going to have a community conversation on July 20th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. via Zoom. We'll be doing it as a kind of a question and answer, or an opportunity for people to weigh in, our constituents to weigh in on their on how they view the Cooper's Green launch, or Cooper's Green boat launch going forward. Prior to that, staff will be assembling. They're in the process right now of assembling a an information sheet, kind of a frequently asked questions page to circulate. And then I will also, as the area director, be having more in-depth conversations with community organizations, or like, for example, Thormanby Homeowners Association, the Half Moon Bay Community Association, Half Moon Bay Citizens Association, and then business owners as well. So we can have, it's kind of a two-part consultation with community members, and then doing a public conversation on the night of July 20th. And if Ian or Dean, our GM of planning, or our CAO would like to add anything to that.
Yeah, I can just offer a couple of things if everyone can hear me okay. Hopefully my headphones that have been giving me a bit of grief of late are working all right. It's an interesting issue. It's been not really addressed for several years, many years in fact, this type of use. So as staff, we're really happy to roll up our sleeves and support this and work with the chair on it. Both Ian and I are happy to be involved.
And I'm very happy to have your involvement. GM Hall, did you want to add anything as well?
Just to throw my my support behind the CAO's comments. Looking forward to working with the chair and with the community on this. Thanks.
Thank you, and it's really looking forward to having the continued conversation on that. And yeah, Director Lee, I see your hand up.
I'm hoping that some other directors can attend. If we could we perhaps get it put on our schedule, and so
yes,
we can be included?
Yes, we haven't finalized. We've finalized the date at this point, and are just starting to let people know about that. But July 20th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. and we'll make sure that everybody has an invite if you'd like to hear what's being said, and that would be great. It's always wonderful to have the support on in the other areas. So thank you. Okay, Director McMahon, was there anything else, or was that was the only question? Okay, perfect. Thank you. And thank you very much to staff for being so responsive on this as well. It's great to have the support. Okay. We will now move on to Annex C, pages 14 to 16 of the package. The Infrastructure Services Committee recommendations, number 1 through 4 of June 18th, 2020. Directors, did you want to pull out any of those to debate separately before we move to adopt those as a whole? Okay, may I ask for a motion to adopt, please? So moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Next up, we have 4A, which was added on earlier on this morning, and it's the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee's recommendations, numbers 2, 4, and 6 of earlier today, page 16AB of our package. Directors, did you wish to continue debate on any of these items before we adopt the 3 recommendations? Okay, may I ask for a motion to adopt these recommendations, please? So moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, Annex D of our package, page 17, the CAO's report as of June 25th, 2020. Over to the CAO, please. Dean, are you there?
Sorry, I'm having some grief with my headphones. Could you repeat the question?
Oh no, we're up to the CAO's report.
Oh, for
portion.
God's sake! Sorry, I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble with these again. I might have to bust out the ugly big blue ones. I actually got a CAO's report done this time in writing, so we continue to work towards restart up at Field Road. we're still waiting for the rest of the safety barriers, and we're trying to work as safely as possible, as we possibly can, as we reopen. And I continue to feel a lot of gratitude to the senior leadership team, our IT department, Tracy, who's been juggling so many things in isolation, and the support of the board as well. We seem to be able to be functioning reasonably well in highly bizarre times, and it is appreciated. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, CAO McKinley. Going to look to directors. Do you have any questions for our CAO? Director Lee. Oh, we'll give Dean just a moment while he switches earphones. Can you hear us, Dean? Yeah? Can you? Oh, you're on mute. Okay. Over to Director Lee. Okay. Director Lee, with your question?
Yes, I was wondering when we're going to revisit when we might be opening the facilities. Is that going to be sometime soon?
By facilities, do you mean the recreation facilities, Director Lee?
Yeah, more specifically in my area, of course, the pool. I'm getting lots of questions about that.
We're starting to have some discussions internally around some of the rec facilities. I know that the BC Recreation Professionals Association and other groups are looking at what reopening looks like. The city of Vancouver has put together, for example, a plan for the reopening of their pools. Rigorous protocol that's put in specific plan to reopen at this time, but I'll certainly turn it over to Ian to see if he has some additional information.
GM Hall?
Sure. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, CAO. So the two next steps that the board and the community will see are an update on a restart plan, which staff are working on for our next board meeting. And then following from the financial impacts analysis that was presented a little while back, a comprehensive analysis specific to some of the services where there are substantial or material changes to revenues or expenditures that have resulted from the pandemic, and that will follow shortly thereafter. And so between those two next steps, staff expect that we will be in a position to confirm timelines for things in the coming 4 weeks. Thanks.
And one of the big challenges around reopening rec facilities that many local governments and regional districts and municipalities, whoever owns these facilities, is going to have to wrestle with is looking at an operational environment where operational costs are probably going to be at 100+% because of some of the additional protocols that may be required as part of the reopening, and revenues are going to be capped at a maximum of 50%, but in reality, they're probably going to be closer to 25%. And that's just an area that we're going to have to do some analysis on as well. And it's going to be a challenge, not just for the Sunshine Coast Regional District, but for jurisdictions all across the province.
We got dogs barking everywhere. Over to Director Kroll, please.
Hey, Dave, you're muted.
Sorry, lowered my hand and forgot to unmute. The questions have also come up at Gibson's Council in inquiry sessions, people wanting to know when the facilities were going to open, and I should be buying lottery tickets because I pretty well word for word replied to the answers you just gave us. So thank you for the update, and we'll look forward moving forward. I don't know, and I totally appreciate what we're looking at as the operational costs, are, as you say, are going to likely increase. And I don't know whether, maybe it's a time to float the boat that if people really want them, they pay a COVID surcharge.
Okay. Thank you, Director Kroll. Over to Director Hiltz, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks CAO for getting it on paper. Way to go. Thank you. It's challenging. So there's two pieces I just want to pick up. There is a one from GM Hall mentioned a 4-week time frame. So I just what that 4-week is, and the relationship between the provincial phase 3 reopening and the reopening of the SCRD. How do those kind of mesh? If you can, I don't know how they mesh. So if you have any insight on the meshing of the phase 3 provincial and the SCRD, and then the 4-week time frame that GM Hall was referring to.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you. If my fellow senior leadership team colleagues have things to add, they're welcome to. In terms of the relationship between the provincial phase 3 and our restart, I'm not sure at this stage that there's a whole lot of interface. We're still under a state of emergency. We still have a number of ministerial orders that are guiding us, and we still have health orders that do things like limit the size of gatherings to 50 people. Some of the pieces that, as the CAO mentioned, have come out have been guidelines from groups like the Life Saving Society and from MIABC that we're able to layer into our planning. And some of those were released as recently as last week. And as we put all those together, we'll be looking to bring forward a plan that prioritizes the easier pieces, some of the outdoor things. And I think about our sports fields and our spray park at Shirley Macy as being ones that are, I think we're pretty close on those to having something that satisfies all the requirements, and there's some credit there due to the information sharing with our municipal partners and with Vancouver Coastal Health in helping us get to where we're at and for next steps. And then I think we're not far beyond that, looking at the possibilities for plans for our recreation facilities. And that's where we'll be checking in with the board, following direction to look at the financial implications of different restart scenarios. And
if I could just follow up a tiny bit on that too, Ian. One of the things that we're going to have to look at, and we've already got a number of things that COVID has produced in terms of budgetary challenges that are going to go well into 2021, and we've got additional costs that are going to be associated with making repairs at the landfill that are going to have impacts on taxpayers in 2021. And one of the questions that we're going to have to wrestle with and bring some scenarios to you as a board, and one of the things for residents on the Sunshine Coast to consider, we are the main providers of recreation on the Sunshine Coast. There's not a tremendous amount of private recreation facilities or private recreation opportunities. A lot of this is provided through the regional district. These are very important facilities for things like attracting and retaining residents. We're going to find out how important they are, because based on how much it's going to cost to reopen, how much additional costs are going to be associated with meeting the requirements of COVID, and the significantly impacted revenue streams associated that we're going to be able to recover, there's going to be potential impacts on taxpayers for the provision of these recreation services. And we need to try to do our best job to potentially forecast them as best we can, which is a challenge. And then it's going to be up to the board to make some decisions around, is that something we're prepared to accept, or do we need to look at adjusting service levels? And those are things that we'll be trying to put together good information for you so we can have a good discussion about it and decisions can be made.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and did any of the other senior leadership team wish to add in anything as well, or? Okay. Any other oh, sorry, Director Hiltz?
So a follow-up is this summer is not going to be like last summer. That's the kind of message that we're hearing, and at the provincial level and at the SCRD level, don't think that this summer is going to be like last. That's a summary, a snapshot.
I think that's probably fair.
Well,
Business.
speaking for Parks and Recreation, that will certainly be the case. But as the CAO said, we fully appreciate the importance of all of the regional district's assets to the community. And so while it may be different, staff are working as hard as we can, and we'll be working with you, board, to ensure that we have the best summer we can. And if we need to come up with new opportunities for ways to burn off excess energy, we'll be bringing those forward as part of planning for restart. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other questions on the CAO's report? Seeing none, the next thing we have on our agenda is communications. We have no communications today, no motions, but we've got bylaw adoption. So this is voting for electoral area directors, 1 vote each. And I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt Sunshine Coast Regional District Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 310.189/2020. This is on Annex E, page 18 on your package. So rural directors, may I have that motion, please? So moved, Director McMahon, seconded, Director Hiltz. Any further discussion on this? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. And then I was remiss, I didn't thank the CAO for his report and for senior leadership team for all of their work throughout this, but thank you so much, and the continued unprecedented workplace environment that we are all going through. So next up on the agenda are our director reports, and I'm going to it's going to be a bit of a surprise for everyone today, because I'm going to go from the way you appear on my screen. So Director McMahon, you're number 1.
Well, I know I'm number 1. I just didn't know that I was first on your screen. I don't have a long report. I just thought I'd say some of the things that I've been up to in the last 2 weeks. I attended the webinar on the Squamish Nation on June the 12th and went on a tour of Sharman Creek with Mayor Beamish and Director Kroll. That was really interesting. It's funny, Sharman Creek has come up 3 times in the last couple of weeks. There is something in the air. It's obviously time to move forward with the town's project. I have been attending a number of different meetings of the Climate Caucus, attended the Gibson's Chamber. On June the 22nd, I had an exciting day. I went to Vancouver. I took the ferry, the bus, the SkyTrain. I had an appointment at a hospital. That was all very interesting, because, you know, it is a whole new world out there. It's nice to know that we are largely back to normal, though, because if you remember, about 8 weeks ago, people were screaming that we should stop the ferries and not let anyone come here. And now they're all screaming that we don't have enough ferry service. So I feel like we're back in the good old groove. I caught the 5:30 sailing at 7 o'clock. So I'm really glad that BC Ferries is revising their schedule. Had the AAC meeting on Tuesday. Attended the Town of Gibson's community leaders meeting on Zoom. And yesterday morning, I went down with the stream keepers and analyzed the water in Chester Creek. So I think that's about it for me.
Thank you, Director McMahon. And yes, you will always be number 1, Director McMahon. Depending on where how you say it and where the pauses are, you know, you can just take that as you wish. Next up on my list, I have Director Kroll, and your report from the Town of Gibsons, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's been sort of endless meetings, it seems. I think many of you have been attending some of them, so I won't spend too much time on them. I also had occasion, it's the first time since February to use the ferries, and, bus to the ferry, walked on, took the bus downtown, one of those big tandem buses. I was one of 18 people on the bus. So there was lots of room for social distancing. It was an interesting experience because coming back, there was an overload. Walking the car deck, what I did notice was a lot of cars, one person, and the backseat piled with Costco boxes. So something I would really like to encourage is shop on the coast. That car and the Costco boxes are taking the place of a potential tourist, which everyone seems very concerned that we're going to have problems luring here this summer. I'm glad to see the latest update from the Ferry Advisory Commission that the schedule is being adjusted. They're adding another sailing. So hopefully things will get onto a little more even keel with the ferry system. Enjoyed the walk with Donna and Mayor Beamish and our CAO with Sharman Creek. It's, if any of you haven't visited the area, it is quite a beautiful spot right in downtown Gibsons. We are looking at trying to protect the whole Sharman Creek system with, for want of a better word, under the Healing Forest Project. Whether it's the whole thing, which I would love to see, or a portion of it, we'll deal with it. But because it's part of our stormwater management system, it really needs to be conserved and protected. And giving it this designation, I don't know if you're familiar with the program. It's called the Healing Forest Program. There's about 8 or 10 of them across the country now. It's sort of a federal designation, and it's part of the whole reconciliation movement. And I will fess up, my cousin, Peter Kroll, is one of the instigators of it. Some council news. We are developing a bylaw in Gibsons for invasive species control, knotweed being number 1 on the target list. So it's being moved forward. We have our, now this was an interesting thing. We've got our public hearing for short-term rentals coming up. And we had a letter of protest from a resident suggesting that short-term rental is a derogatory term towards the people who are operating short-term rentals, a new name for it. It's a bit of a challenge because everyone else calls it short-term rental. So are we going to be the only place in the world it has a different name? But it was an interesting reflection on the subject that short-term rental is a derogatory term. You learn something new every day. That's about it from the town of Gibsons. We're still doing our business watch, and the feedback we've had from the RCMP, they're really pleased with the work we're doing. We had a discussion with Staff Sergeant Hallam, and her team are really now on every shift. They engage with us, so they let us know that they're also in town, and if we have an issue, who we can contact, so on and so forth. So it's working really well, and that's about it from Gibsons.
Terrific. Thank you, Director Kroll. And that's interesting that the term STR, or the short-term rental term, is now being considered derogatory. It's I'm actually happy to see the same language being developed across the coast around changing the B&B designation to a short-term rental, which is far more explanatory and in the term than bed and breakfast. I think it's more a definitive term personally. But moving on, Director Lee, I have you next, please.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, quite a few things considering that I'm stuck in the house. Big trip is up to Pender Diesel. The BCTS and Egmont Town Hall. This is about the logging in Egmont, in the Egmont area. There's going to be a town hall scheduled on June 25th at 6 p.m. You got to register, and then you get a link Thursday morning. The local people are quite interested in the directors attending and listening. So if you think you'd like to attend, just drop me a note and I'll send you the how to register link. I think I did it once before, but I'll send it again. Lori, they're very interested in you attending specifically, if you can make it.
I am registered to attend. I have a bit of a conflict tonight, so I might not be able to be there for the whole thing. So
I think it should be good. I'm kind of curious how it's going to happen because I'm expecting hundreds of people, and I don't know how Zoom handles hundreds of people. I guess we'll find out. I'm still working with Farah on the DMP. There's been some progress. They really desire community consultation because they consider that they have some amendments that are helpful to the process, and they'd like to talk about them and see if they're good or if they're bad. Hopefully that will happen. That will also include discussions about updating Area A OCP and bylaw 337 once we get agreement on what zoning is and who looks after what part of zoning on the foreshore. It's quite an interesting theoretical discussion. I guess it's very real too if you need a dock though. Walked the A&A logging site up by north of Saginaw. It's by the highways shed up there. They call it the Malaspina. I wandered through the Suncoaster Trail, and right where it hits the highway and goes into the woods a little ways, it's absolutely beautiful there. There's some land that's never been logged. It's old growth. There's no stumps. There's natural undergrowth there, and it's right on the highway. You can tell because I walked it. Talked to A&A, and they said they won't log untouched old growth forest if it's in a grove. And so asked them if I could meet them there and we'd walk through it, so they knew exactly and agreed that that's what it was. So that's upcoming. Very productive discussion with A&A. It was a very positive experience. Had a great AAP meeting last night. Some good orders of business and practicing visitors on Zoom. Little few glitches, but it worked. But nice discussion at the end on asset management and the need to do long-term plans to make sure funding's in place. And the fact that I needed some people to volunteer to do our long-term plans, like our solid waste, our water, our liquid waste. And I've got a couple people now that are interested in working on the WASAC, which it's a good acronym, Water Supply Advisory Committee. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it because I'm not sure if we're going to be replacing the Area A Water Master Plan and the Comprehensive Regional Water Plan, or if we're just updating them, or if we're replacing them. But I guess there'll be something like that eventually when we're done. And it was just basically a very good and productive discussion. Lots of interest here on those things. So that's my report. Thank you.
thank you very much, Director Lee. You are very, very busy up there in Area A. Next up, I have Director Ties, please.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a ton to report. At the OCP committee and the APC in the last couple of weeks. It was good to see the OCP committee back again. And that was their first meeting since COVID happened. And the big issue going on in the creek right now is the Roberts Creek Pier. There's some safety considerations. There's some people there are feeling unsafe going down there. There's some people there that are not. Apparently, there's drug dealings going on. There's public drinking, partying until all hours in the morning. But even during the day, there's some people who feel like they're not safe or welcome there. So we are actually having a bit of a interjurisdictional meeting tonight at 7. We've got the RCMP showing up. We've got, I believe, Pat Higgins from the Roberts Creek Volunteer Fire Department, as well. I think hopefully some staff is going to be there. I'll try to make it, and we're going to have a look at what's going on down there, and then maybe a chat of what can be done. So I'm hoping that between everyone, we're going to find some solutions to work on this problem, and then get some action items out of this. Other than that, I think happy that it's sunny outside and hoping to get some of it for the rest of the day. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Ties, and good luck on the meeting tonight. I'm curious if you could fill us in on how it goes after. I know it's been an issue in your neighborhood for quite some time, so looking forward to having the update on that. Over to Director Toth, please.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a lot to report. Canada Day is rapidly approaching, and we've got 3 parades we're going to be doing in the district of Seashelt. If you're interested in taking part, you're more than welcome to register. Seashelt.ca/Canada Day has information and links. We did a Zoom session earlier this week on doing public hearings just with our staff and directors, and that was really cool because we talked through some stuff with IT that was going to sort of hopefully make that process easier and more manageable when you're dealing with the public wanting to participate actively in the meeting. And I think it's really remarkable that in just 2 days, our IT team managed to turn around that timer and speakers list module, so to speak, for us for use with this. And further that they're sharing that with District of Seashelt and Town of Gibsons. So hopefully when we do our public hearings, we're not all reinventing the wheel and we're using a common interface that the public will recognize as something that we all use here on the Sunshine Coast. Don't really have anything to report. Been hanging out in the rain out on the back deck and hanging out inside while it's sunny. So yeah, like Director Ties, hopefully I can get some sun here today.
Thank you, Director Toth. Over to Director Hiltz, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I guess the theme is the restart. And I think Director Toth mentioned it, GM Hall mentioned it. It's this innovation that's going on through this COVID period. GM Hall about how to keep us coasters healthy and active and in using those facilities and the sharing of resources. So yeah, it's really impressive to see that happening. And as the SERD office is open to the public, the Gibsons and District Public Library is scheduled to reopen for in-person on July the 6th. It's going to be Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. Takeout service will continue. It's not food takeout, it's physical books, right? That's the takeout and bring back. And they have a reopening plan posted on the website for people to view about how all it's going to work. Something that's come up through the APC and even the Agriculture Advisory, and is the importance of in-person meetings and the motivation, particularly behind the community volunteers. As groovy as Zoom is, and convenient, it doesn't kind of fill that need that community volunteers get involved in, and that's that person-to-person contact. So it's something that I have a certain financial motivation to participate and get the business done, but the volunteers can go anywhere, and if they don't get that satisfaction from their engagement, I fear losing them in some way. So I hope that the Restart program looks at how to continue to move towards that in-person meeting that the volunteers really thrive on. So, and what else can I say? Thanks to Director McMahon for passing on that link to the Squamish webinar. I still don't know how to get on that mailing list for those democracy webinars, but it was a really, I found an amazing 1 hour to listen to the Squamish Nation talk about how they see the world. And it was the free, prior, and informed consent that I was really, I feel like I've been living under a rock, sort of, to understand what that means. And I always thought it was mostly about the absence of manipulation and coercion. But it really is about inclusion, which we've been talking about, removing the barriers for people to participate. And I never tied it together between Indigenous rights and inclusion and the free and prior informed consent. So I was really appreciative of that. And if Director McMahon could help me find out where to get on that mailing list, it'd be appreciated. Comments about Zoom. I've heard a National Planners Convention in the US had 5,000 participants. So Zoom seems pretty capable. And I just have one question for Director Ties, is the format of the meeting that you're structuring in the Creek. If you could say something about, is that a Zoom meeting in person? What is it? And that's the end of my report.
We're actually meeting in person at the pier tonight.
So there'll be lots of space for physical distancing. So, yeah. Thank you very much, Director Hiltz, and letting us know what's up in West Howe Sound. And I'm going to go over to Director Seegers and an update on her many goings on over the past couple of weeks.
Well, while we've been talking, I've kind of put them into themes. That'd be easier. As you know, there's been a number of BC Ferries meetings dealing with the evolving service. What's really nice about all of that is that they are actually listening to the community, continually being in conversation with us and looking at how they can provide that support. We at the District of Sechelt will be sending a letter, came out of our meeting yesterday, requesting that they move to the summer of 2019 schedule, because that provided at least a level of service that supported the community in a better way. So we'll see what happens with that one. So one of the themes, housing. I'm learning about the FCM, so Federation of Canadian Municipality Green Municipal Fund housing dollars that are available, because I've also been in conversation with BC Housing. We desperately need rental housing here on the Sunshine Coast. So I want to look at how we could actually do some kind of project, maybe with a developer, maybe ourselves, to get some affordable rentals here on the Sunshine Coast. Another piece of that, and another piece around the economy, is daycare. So talking with the province about the funds that are available there. I'm also in conversation with Capilano University around training for daycare workers, because right now, for example, the Sechelt Nation has space for children, but they don't have enough staff to run the facility to actually have it at capacity. So if we're looking at adding more daycare, we need more staff to run the daycare. So that's a conversation. And I think tomorrow I have a meeting with the dean of that department or something. Somehow it's in my calendar. attended an SDBA meeting, a Downtown Business Association meeting. They've come forward with a request of financial support from the District of Sechelt for a couple of big patios downtown to provide outdoor spaces for those who don't have space in their business. We are donating $4,000. They're putting into, and it's a grant application to Ice-T under their COVID program to provide matching funds to build these. And I believe the Rotary is going to build them. So it's going to be a community kind of project to bring all of these together. So we'll see if that's successful. Turnaround on that is very quick. So that application will be going in and hopefully getting information back on that fairly soon. A number of us, Chair Pratt and Director Ties and I have been meeting with Jerry Parker, our HR director or HR manager, and our CAO to put together his performance evaluation. As you know, that's something that we need to get done fairly quickly. So we're in process with that. Should see something coming out in the next week or so. Another topic that has been taking a lot of my time in the probably last 3 or 4 days is the overdose prevention site that popped up in Sechelt, and looking at how we can deal with that going forward, and stuff around that. Want to announce that the District of Sechelt was successful in obtaining a BC Active Transportation Grant for Wharf Avenue. So we put an application into BC government for funding, and then are looking for the matching funding from Ice-T to redo. It'll be basically the long block of Wharf Avenue that doesn't have sidewalks, etc. at this point, so across the street from the Petrocan. We received a grant of $479,000 from the BC government for that. So we're looking to get the Ice-T matching funds or additional piece from Ice-T. The project will go forward. We'll find the money somewhere from one of the other things. It's something that has to happen. It's the entrance to downtown Sechelt. As you probably heard, Trellis proposal got second reading at our last council meeting. So that'll be moving forward to a public hearing. The date has not been set yet, but that'll be coming forward. Then this morning, Chair Pratt and I attended an online business forum put on by Sunshine Coast Regional Economic Development Organization, along with a number of other organizations on the coast, tourism, community futures, etc. They were looking to bring together business communities, and I think they had about 60 people in the forum, looking at what does the next 90 days look like for them. And the question they're going to be asked is, over the next 90 days, what does that look like for them? And then what do they need help with? And from whom do they need that help? Is it from government? Is it from other businesses? Is it from the community? So Chair Pratt and I were there for the first hour. We had the opportunity to listen to Bob Hoy, the owner of the IGA in Gibson's, and Mark Yellowly, who owns Wheatberries. They looked back over the last 90 days and looked at what was that like for them. And so a couple of things that came out of there were, there was a lot of uncertainty. Inside of that uncertainty, they needed to pivot, show leadership, take action, make decisions, and no matter if they didn't know the way forward or not, they needed to move with imperfect action in some direction. And they said, both of them said it required collaboration and asking for help. And so both, I think, exemplified what was going on in our community. So it was really nice to be there. And I actually look forward to hearing the rest of the forum. We had to leave, as I said, to come to this meeting, but it is being recorded. So, make sure that if you have an opportunity, get in there and listen to that and see what they said. Because I found it pretty fascinating just for the hour that I was there. I think that's my report. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Director Seegers. I will keep my report pretty brief. There's just a few things I just wanted to touch on that have been going on. well, I'll just touch on the few. So last week, I was part of an interesting forum that was being hosted by UBCM in conjunction with BC Transit and TransLink. And it was with mayors and chairs across the province of communities that had either BC Transit or TransLink within their communities. And it was an opportunity for the mayors and chairs to raise issues with what was happening in their community. It was UBCM that pulled it together, and it gave us an opportunity to hear what else is going on around the province, and share what's going on for us as BC Transit and TransLink transition to a more robust schedule and adjust for ridership within regions. Obviously, there's a lot of different focal points in the metro areas than what we have happening in the rural areas. We at least have some ridership that still continues. There's some areas that the only reason, or some of their bus lines are only there because of a university or a college in the area, and so they're hurting even far worse than what we are. So it was just an opportunity to share with what's going on, and I'll have the slides were just sent out to us yesterday, so I will make sure that I share them with the board so you can see and with staff as well, so you can see the presentation as it was there. So it was a really good conversation. BC Ferries, as others have touched on, I've had a number of meetings as chair of the board, as well as part of the Ferry Advisory Committee. Darnelda and I, along with Mayor Beamish from Gibson's, met with Mark Collins and Brian Anderson. I think it was just last week, at the beginning of the week, and reiterated the positioning that we had, because of course that Monday was I think the day that the ferries just could not keep up no matter what. And it was the day after Father's Day, I believe, and it was a brutal day on BC Ferries. And but it was a good conversation with them. And then they've after later in the week, there was a lot of more conversations with the Ferry Advisory Committee and various ferry advisory committees around along the coast. Because we're in a different position than other ones are. The uptick on our Route 3 was a lot higher than what BC Ferries was expecting. So they needed to readjust a bit, and they've promised in a subsequent meeting with the Ferry Advisory Committee to be more responsive about sailings and continue to adjust the schedule as needed. They are changing the schedule, so there is more turnaround time between sailings, and they've added back in that midday sailing. I'm glad to hear Seashelt is putting forward a motion to advocate for more. Just to let you know, there is another conference call on Monday with the Ferry Advisory Committee and with BC Ferries to discuss again. So they're being very proactive now, which is great, than the reactive stance that we've had in the past couple of weeks. So being very, very responsive, which is good to see. Regarding other Half Moon Bay items, had as I said earlier, we have our community conversation around the boat launch. Will be on at the Cooper's Green. Will be on July 20th at 6 p.m. I've met with some of the community members around the Cooper's Green Hall replacement, and then just other issues that are going on in the Half Moon Bay area. Tonight, I do have in my calendar to attend the BCS BCTS conversation in Egmont, but then I also have a Half Moon Bay Community Association meeting tonight, or AGM as well tonight. So going to be overlapping there a little bit, and looking forward to continued conversation and keeping in touch with what's going on in our community. So that's about it for me. Looking on, the next thing we had on our agenda was new business. And we have, first off, we have the July 14th public hearing. Now, this July 14th is a public hearing for the property on North Road, correct? And Director Ties was scheduled to be the chair of that public hearing. However, he is now unavailable because he was available for the first date, but we've had to move it back because of the short-term rental hearing that is happening on June 30th. So he has asked Director McMahon to stand in his place as the chair of that public hearing. Is that correct, Director McMahon and Director Ties? Yep. Okay. So what we need to do is we need officially we need a motion assigning Director McMahon as the chair of that public hearing on July 14th. So moved, Director Hiltz, seconded Director Ties. Corporate officer, there's nothing, do we need to, sorry?
Clarification, who we are delegating as the alternate chair to conduct the meeting?
Director Hiltz is the alternate chair of that meeting, so that doesn't, do we want that explicitly in the motion as well? Okay, perfect. And Director Hiltz is the alternate chair for that public hearing. Okay. Okay, so I see that moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. The next item of new business, Director McMahon, you wish to discuss knotweed.
Yeah, invasive plants in general is a big topic, and we've had a hard time on the coast trying to deal with it because we just don't have the capacity to deal with it. We need more help from the province. What else is new? But I did think that we could make a first move on the knotweed problem. I mean specifically knotweed because it's identified as a really serious invasive species. Local governments have knotweed on our own property. And I think that maybe we could start by eradicating knotweed from our own property. I can't speak for sure to the District of Sechelt, but I know that it's in Shirley Macy Park, and it's in the Gibson's Public Works Yard. And I would like to see the local governments on the coast put our best foot forward about controlling knotweed on our own property. I'm not sure what the best way to move that forward is. I'm open to suggestions. Perhaps just a public commitment on that point. I don't know.
Okay. I see Director Seegers, or actually I'll go to GM Hall first and then I'll go over to Director Seegers.
Thank you, Chair. For the information of the board, there is work underway to improve and advance our control of invasive species on our own property, and some of this comes from the increasing pressure that the director mentioned in terms of growth, and some of it comes from lack of capacity in certain areas on the coast. And some of it is a product of the work that was done on a regional strategy a little while ago. And so with respect to the knotweed that's in Shirley Macy Park, we are coordinating for treatment of that right now. And I guess certainly from a staff perspective, looking ahead, we're actively thinking about building internal capacity so that we can be more responsive and potentially more efficient as well. At some point, the capacity for anyone on the coast, including the regional district, even to manage our own lands, will be a question. And so as we continue management planning and asset management planning for parks, I expect that question would come back through discussion of future budgets. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, GM Hall. Over Director Seegers.
Thank you. Director McMahon was asking about the District of Sechelt. There is knotweed in the District of Sechelt. Not a lot, but there is. Our staff, and we know where it is on our district property, we actually typically hire somebody to come and treat that. So the spots that we do have are getting smaller. One of the things that I hear, though, from residents on the Sunshine Coast is, where do they dispose of it? Because we don't really have a place for them to take it. In some cases, they've been shipping it off coast because that's the only place it can go. So that's another piece that I think we need to look at more closely.
GM Rosenboom.
The only thing I would like to add to that is that it's recommended to even not transport knotweed at all. I've done it myself once on my property, on my previous property, and a 2-inch piece became a 2-meter piece within a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll just follow up on that. The people typically who contact me are the landscape people, right? Because they're dealing with it. They know how to deal with it, but they're saying, where do we put it when we have dealt with it? So it's a bigger conversation.
Okay. Thank you, Director Seegers. Over to Director Kroll, please.
Thank you, Chair. As I mentioned earlier, the town of Gibsons is moving this invasive species bylaw forward. But I think the important thing, again, we're right back at communication, is all of us being on the same page, because there's nothing worse than someone in the town of Gibsons being told one thing and someone in the regional district being told another, and so on and so forth up and down the coast. So I think, we need to liaise and come up with, a single strategic plan to deal with it that's consistent throughout. Give direction to people, how to properly deal with it, because some people are quite happy to hack it up into little pieces, toss it in their trailer, drive off to the green waste, dump it, and now it's everywhere from their driveway to the town work site. What a surprise. In places in the interior, you can't even drive onto a property unless your vehicle's been inspected. It's not knotweed up there. It's what is it, millweed? Anyway, it's another weed. But if you've been on a property that's been known to have it, you can't even drive onto someone else's ranch unless your car has been sort of thoroughly disinfected. But it is a huge issue. Like, it was sort of heartbreaking to see the way it's invading Sharman Creek. There are, some citizens working at it, but it's, it's a long, drawn-out process. And, I'm battling it in my own backyard, thanks to, a property that sat vacant for several years, and now it's coming under a stone wall, and there it is. So I think as long as we have a consistent program throughout the communities, at least it gives us a bit of a chance in battling it. And as Remco said, people say, where can I dispose of it? And it's a real procedure. If you're going to move it off your property, it's supposed to be bagged as if it was asbestos. It's that hazardous.
Thank you, Director Kroll. Director McMahon, what would you like out of this discussion?
Yeah, I knew that was going to arise. We need to set a good example. And I think if we can try to deal with our properties, we're going to run into all the same barriers that residents are running into. So it will motivate us a bit to hopefully try and find some solutions. I don't know. Maybe we could refer this to the AAC. No, that's bad of me. Future staff report. How long since we've had a meeting of the invasive species task force?
Ooh, staff, care to hazard a guess on that, GM Hall?
I can't. I apologize, board members. I can't recall the timing of the last meeting, but not that long ago, staff brought forward a report suggesting a refocusing of some of the actions to really to take a look at what's within our mandate and could be actioned, and what's in the mandate of other local governments. And I believe that the last direction was to refer that sort of reordered list of work with a question about accuracy and a question about priority to those who had participated with that working group. And I further apologize. I don't have an update recently on progress in terms of responses on that referral. But hearing the interests, staff can take a look at that and be prepared to provide an update at a future committee meeting.
Would you like a motion to that effect, Mr. Hall? Just for tracking purposes, that's all. Or it's already on your agenda, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
And we do have a quarterly report coming for the Planning and Community Development Department, so I will attempt to include it in that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
That's good. I was trying to narrow the scope to just knotweed and just municipally owned properties as a first step. All the rest of it is a bigger conversation.
Director Carl?
As Director Seegers indicated, the District of Sechelt seems to have a good handle on it if they know where their plants are and how many they've got. So perhaps if the District of Sechelt would share with both the regional district and the town of Gibson's their battle plan. It's stupid. It's all starting at square one. I know there's things out there, there's websites you can go to, but again, it's all in the interest of consistency. And if we're all using the same plan, it's we're not going to be running off at 6s and 7s.
Okay.
I'll pass that on. We'll make it happen.
Okay. All right. Are we good on this item then? And we'll look forward to when it comes back from staff, as it's already within the work plan, I guess. So, okay. Terrific. Okay. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. We will have an in-camera session here. So after we make that motion for in-camera, we will go to the public gallery for any questions that are coming up from in there. So I'm going to ask that for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91A, K, and 2B of the Community Charter. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. And over to IT for any questions. Oh, I see that we do have a question here from our gallery. My apologies, my home phone is like ringing off the hook now. So from Connie, question to the chair regarding Cooper's Green boat launch discussions. Have Sunshine Coast Tourism or the local chambers of commerce been advised of the discussion opportunity, as the topic is related to commercial use of that facility? At this point, Connie, they hadn't been part of the discussion or provided any input. However, thank you for those suggestions. I will reach out to Sunshine Coast Tourism. Technically Half Moon Bay is is in a rural area, but I can connect with the Seashells. I can connect with the Chambers of Commerce as well as Scredo as well. So, but thank you for the suggestion. Any other questions? Nothing else in the webinar chat. Bryce, anything from anywhere else?
No, not at this time. So anyone who did join the public gallery would have just been directed over here. So
okay, terrific. Okay, and I think that was just Connie just had the one question. Nothing else.
it looks like she's departed now.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay, so we will be going in camera. Is everyone okay with going straight in camera, or Thank you all for, as we rejoin your regularly scheduled board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District on a beautiful afternoon here on June 25th, 2020. With that, I would like a motion to adjourn, please. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon in that beautiful sunshine.